Life often presents us with moments of shock, moments that freeze time and leave us questioning everything we thought we knew. But what happens when those moments reveal something far darker than we ever expected? When the person you loved, the one you trusted, is gone, and the truth about how it happened is too horrific to believe? Daniel Reynolds never imagined that his life would change in the blink of an eye. He thought he had everything: love, stability, a future with someone who made him feel whole. Her name was Sarah. She was his everything. But when he received that phone call, everything shifted. The words were sharp, cold, like a knife that cut through the very fabric of his reality. It was supposed to be a regular evening. Sarah was supposed to be at work, and Daniel had just returned home after a long day. They had plans to meet up later. But when the phone rang, and the voice on the other end wasn't hers, something inside him shifted. The voice on the other end of the line was a police officer. "We need you to come down to the station," the officer said. "There's been an incident." The words felt foreign, like they didn't belong in his world. He couldn't comprehend what was happening, couldn't understand why his heart was suddenly pounding in his chest. When Daniel arrived at the station, he was met by Detective Rose Carter. Her face was somber, her expression unreadable. She led him into a small interrogation room, where the walls felt like they were closing in on him. He could barely breathe, his mind racing, trying to prepare for what was coming. But nothing could have prepared him for the nightmare that would unfold. Detective Carter didn't mince words. She asked him to sit down, and then, she told him that Sarah was dead. "We found her," she said. "She was found in an alley, not far from your apartment." The words hit him like a blow to the stomach. Sarah, dead? The love of his life? How? Why? Daniel couldn't believe it. He'd seen her just hours before. She was supposed to be safe, supposed to be with him soon. But instead, she was gone, lying cold and lifeless in some forgotten corner of the city. His mind couldn't process it. His heart couldn't accept it. The investigation into Sarah's death began immediately, but the details were grim. Her body had been found in a dark alley, discarded as if she were nothing more than an afterthought. No one had seen or heard anything, and the police had no leads. The only thing that was certain was the cold, violent nature of her death. Daniel was consumed by the desire for answers. He couldn't stand the thought of losing her, and he refused to accept that she could just be gone. He wanted to know who did this to her. He needed to know why she had been taken from him. As the investigation wore on, Daniel's grief deepened, but so did his suspicion. The police couldn't find any suspects, any clear motives. But something wasn't right. Daniel had been with Sarah nearly every day. He knew her better than anyone. And yet, there were pieces of her life that he never knew about, secrets that she had kept hidden, even from him. As Daniel went through Sarah's personal belongings, he uncovered something he couldn't have prepared for. Hidden in her phone were messages, ones that made his blood run cold. The words were dark, the tone unsettling. Sarah had been involved with someone, or something, that Daniel didn't know about. Someone who might have been watching her. Someone who might have had a much darker connection to her than he could have ever imagined. As Daniel dug deeper, he found even more unsettling things. Sarah had been part of a group, a secret circle, one that no one had spoken about. A group with connections to dangerous people, shady deals, and a past that no one was willing to confront. The deeper Daniel went, the more he realized that Sarah's death wasn't just a random act of violence, it was a message. When Daniel confronted Detective Carter with his findings, the truth started to unfold. He learned that Sarah had been involved in a tangled web of deception, manipulation, and threats. The police had no idea what was really going on, but Daniel did. He realized that Sarah's death was not random. It was calculated. Someone had gone to extreme lengths to silence her, and now, Daniel was left to pick up the pieces. In that moment, Daniel knew what he had to do. He couldn't sit back and let the authorities handle it. He had to take matters into his own hands. He had to find the people responsible for Sarah's death, and he had to make them pay. As he plunged deeper into the shadows of Sarah's past, Daniel discovered more horrifying truths. The people Sarah had been involved with were dangerous, more dangerous than he could have ever imagined. And the further he went, the more he realized that his own life might be in danger as well. What Daniel didn't know was that the people responsible for Sarah's murder weren't done with him yet. They had been watching, waiting for the moment he would discover the truth. But now, it was too late. He had already come too far. Sometimes, the truth is more horrifying than the lies. And sometimes, the ones you love the most are the ones who lead you into the darkest of places. Daniel's journey was only beginning, but the truth was far more terrifying than he could have ever imagined. Kindly like, share and subscribe for more true crime stories.